Somewhere in the Mediterranean, right now, a creature is dying. Old age, organs shutting down, the whole deal. And instead of dying, it just hits rewind. Act 1. The jellyfish that cheats death. Meet Turritopsis dohrnii. Scientists call it the Immortal Jellyfish, which is a bold nickname for something smaller than your pinky nail. You could lose one in your cereal. Here's what makes it insane. When this jellyfish gets old, injured, or just has a bad week, it doesn't die like everything else on Earth does. It collapses into a blob of cells and then rebuilds itself from scratch, back into a baby version of itself. Same DNA, reset age. The whole transformation from dying adult to newborn takes about a day or two. Picture this. You're 80, exhausted, joints aching, and instead of retiring, your body just goes, nah, and turns you back into a toddler. Not a metaphor, cell by cell, actually happening. Scientists call it transdifferentiation, which is a fancy way of saying this jellyfish's cells forget what job they had and pick a new one. Skin cell today, muscle cell tomorrow, whatever the reboot needs. It can do this over and over and over. Theoretically, forever. Now, before you picture an unkillable jelly monster, it's not invincible. It can still get eaten, it can still get sick, it just can't die of old age. Ever. Immortal? Not bulletproof. Okay, one weird jellyfish that doesn't age. Wild, right? Here's the twist. It's not even the most impressive refuses to die story in this ocean. Act 2. The shark older than your country. This is the Greenland shark. It lives in freezing Arctic water, moves at about walking speed, and might genuinely be the most unbothered animal alive. In 2016, scientists radiocarbon dated the eye lenses of nearly 30 Greenland sharks. Don't ask, it works. The oldest one had been alive for roughly 400 years. 400! That shark was already swimming around before your country probably existed. Before your family tree has a single name on it that anyone remembers. And it gets weirder. These sharks don't even hit puberty until they're about 150 years old. Most sharks are dead of old age before this one finishes being a teenager. How does it pull this off? Mostly by doing almost nothing. Ice-cold water, a metabolism slower than a Monday morning, and barely any growth. About 1 centimeter a year. It basically achieved near immortality by refusing to rush anything. Honestly, relatable. 400 years feels unbeatable. It's not even the oldest thing we're about to meet. Act 3. The clam that predates your family tree. In 2006, off the coast of Iceland, researchers pulled up an ocean quahog clam. Basically a chowder clam, nothing fancy to look at. They counted the growth rings in its shell, the same way you'd count rings in a tree. After double-checking with more precise methods, the final number came back at 507 years old. This little clam started growing its shell back when Columbus's voyages to the Americas were still fresh news in Europe, and more than a decade before Martin Luther kicked off the Protestant Reformation. It sat on the ocean floor through the entire age of exploration, the height of the Ming dynasty, and centuries of European history it never heard a single second of. Because, it's a clam. They nicknamed it Ming, after the dynasty ruling China when it was born. And here's the part that hurts a little. It survived 5 centuries of ocean currents, predators, and freezing Icelandic winters, and then died the moment scientists studying it accidentally froze it on the boat. 507 years old, taken out by a cooler. So, a shark that lives 400 years, a clam that lives 500. Feels like we've hit the ceiling. We haven't. Act 4. Older than recorded history.
Deep off the coast of Hawaii, scientists found a black coral called Leopathis. They radiocarbon dated its skeleton and got a number that's honestly hard to process. Over 4,000 years old. That's not a typo. This coral started growing around 2200 before Common Era, while the pyramids at Giza had already been standing for centuries. Long before the Trojan War, long before most of what you'd call ancient history had even happened yet. Quick honesty check though, this coral isn't one single animal living forever like our jellyfish. It's more like a city. Thousands of tiny identical animals called polyps, building and rebuilding the same structure for millennia. Individual polyps come and go. The city just never stops. So which one actually wins? The shark that lives centuries? The clam that quietly outlasted the Renaissance? The coral that's basically a 4,000-year-old apartment building? Or the jellyfish that hits an actual rewind button? Here's the real difference, and it's the whole point of this video. The shark, the clam, and the coral are all playing the same game we are. They age. They just do it incredibly, unbelievably slowly. Eventually, something gets them. The jellyfish is playing a completely different game. It's not aging slowly. It's barely aging at all. It's the only known animal that can take its own cells backward and start the clock over. That's not longevity. That's an undo button. And that's exactly why scientists keep studying it. Not because anyone's expecting a jellyfish fountain of youth anytime soon, but because understanding how a 2-millimeter blob rewrites its own cells might, eventually, tell us something about how our cells age too. The ocean's been quietly running a 4,000-year experiment in not dying. And we only just started reading the results. Makes you wonder what else is down there, doesn't it? Subscribe if you want to find out, because trust me, this isn't even the weirdest thing living down there.